We have to be able to tell people how to protect the vulnerable in your family.
As Montana cases climb, one of the nation's top coronavirus experts speaks out. Plus, another prominent Montana Republican breaks from his party in supporting a presidential candidate. And later, back on the volleyball courts, a team sidelined by COVID returns to the floor.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for making MTN your choice for news. I'm Tim McGonigal. Montana has averaged more than 300 new COVID cases a day for the last week, and today the state is reporting 348 new cases. Since Tuesday, the state also reporting more deaths to bring the total to 183. The latest victims to die from COVID-related illness include residents from Sweetgrass, Glacier, Flathead, and Yellowstone counties. It's the second death in Glacier County, which is now reporting 290 active cases. State hospitals say they're feeling stress from COVID hospitalizations, and they're stressing the importance of following COVID guidelines. Governor Steve Bullock was joined by several chief medical officers to address the drastic rise in COVID cases. Benefis Health System in Great Falls is currently at 115% capacity, with 37 patients that were hospitalized due to COVID complications, 7 of which are in the ICU. The state reports supplies in the Billings area have been stressed, with days of single-digit bed capacity remaining available. Bullock said that while the system isn't overstressed yet, hospitals are in a difficult situation as cold and flu season approaches.
Our concerning trend in cases right now should cause us all some alarm. And what's most concerning is knowing what can happen to our healthcare system if we don't get the spread of this virus under control now. We've seen it happen in other states, and there's no real reason for it to happen in Montana.
And if Montana's medical experts don't convince you, the White House is sending a message to Montanans. Today, MTN's Janelle Slade talked with Dr. Deborah Birx, the White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator, who's watching Montana's numbers climb. She says she's very concerned. She knows people are tired, but as the virus spreads across the state and more people die, she says you need to plan smart, especially as we head into the holidays.
Any message or specific message about making your holiday plans in Montana with your families?
You know, I think this is really an important topic, and I think you're absolutely right. We have to be able to tell people how to protect the vulnerable in your family and how to protect your neighborhoods. There are ways to be physically distant but socially engaged even within a household, to have those grandparents and aunts and uncles together, but have those that are in family pods physically separated from each other at a minimum of 6 feet or more while you are eating and have your mask off. We can do this together. I know it's going to take a bit of engineering, but we're smart and creative people. I know they've got the can-do spirit out there in Montana. We can figure out our way forward and re-engineer utilizing all the rooms in our houses to keep people physically distanced in their groups, in their pods, while we come together in a physically distant way.
And tonight we're learning the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation has mandated a 2-week shutdown. This is effective Friday night through October 16th. Tribal officials say the shutdown will allow public health personnel to continue conducting contact tracing and help prevent the spread of COVID. Officials urging all residents to plan ahead and get any necessary supplies before the shutdown goes into effect. Only essential travel will be allowed. For more details on the shutdown, you can head to krtv.com. On the campaign trail, former Montana Republican Governor Mark Roscoe says he is not supporting President Trump and will instead vote for former Vice President Joe Biden. Roscoe is also the former Republican National Committee chairman, a role he held from 2001 to 2003. He made his comments Tuesday on Yellowstone Public Radio's Home Ground with Brian Kahn. Roscoe said he also did not support candidate Donald Trump in 2016, and that has not changed for 2020.
I regret that I will cause consternation perhaps in some corners, but even as a Republican, I will not be supporting Donald Trump for president, and I will not be voting for him. That means that I'll be voting for Joe Biden for president. The reason I'm doing that, Brian, is that I'm not going to march lockstep with him every step of the way, or with the administration. I'll have disagreements, I'm certain. But at the end of the content of a man's character or a woman's character to serve in that capacity is more important than any other issue that I have to consider as a matter of conscience.
Well, citing both the lack of evidence and voter fraud and the compelling public health concerns, U.S. District Court Judge Dana Christensen rejected a request by Republicans to stop Montana's use of vote by mail. The two suits had been filed earlier this month, challenging Governor Bullock's August directive, which allowed county election officials to decide where to conduct the general election entirely through the mail because of concerns about the pandemic. In the order, Judge Christensen cited the lack of evidence of fraud, especially with the June primary, and said Republicans had not introduced any evidence that the general election will be, quote, ripe with fraud, end quote. Christensen also said the court had no trouble concluding the COVID-19 pandemic constitutes a disaster and emergency, upholding Bullock's authority to issue his directive. And also on Tuesday, a pair of orders from the Montana Supreme Court settled two disputes and issues involving mailed or absentee ballots for the November 3rd election. First, the High Court said in order for mail ballots to be counted this November, they must be returned to the county election offices by 8 p.m. on Election Day. That ruling blocked a lower court order that said mailed ballots needed only to be postmarked by Election Day and arrive within 9 days later to be counted. But the Supreme Court also upheld a lower court order that temporarily voided a 2018 law that had restricted who can collect and turn in absentee ballots cast by other people. That ruling is a victory for Native American tribes and the state Democratic Party, who said the restrictions unfairly blocked efforts to enable more voting on Indian reservations. In 45 of Montana's 56 counties, ballots will be mailed to all registered voters for the general election. They can be mailed back or returned in person to county election offices or drop boxes. The Supreme Court also again said it would further consider and rule more broadly on both of the issues after the election. Well, we're working to learn more tonight about the death of an infant at a local unlicensed daycare. It happened over the weekend in Great Falls. A representative from Family Connections, an organization that provides child care resources, reached out to MTN when they learned about the death. They recommend always using a licensed child care provider and say the organization has resources to help with that.
We have free referrals to licensed child care facilities at no charge to the family. We also have scholarships to help families pay for child care. And then we help child care providers become licensed with the training and professional development that they need.
And we do not know the name of the daycare, the child's identity, or how they died. When we learn more, we will update you on air and online. A Great Falls nonprofit trying to provide a safe place for young kids in need will not be open as soon as originally hoped. Toby's House in Great Falls is still in need of $25,000 to pay staff. The crisis nursery held an open house last week in anticipation of being able to open in October. That was before learning the state denied a request for an exception to open before getting the money. Board members have been working to get the house open since 2015.
Online auction for the springtime. It just takes a group of driven people that no matter what obstacle we hit, we are going to dive right through it and we're going to get these doors open.
If you'd like more information about that auction or to donate online, you can read this story on our website. The Great Falls Clinic Legacy Foundation broke ground on their new patient housing facility this month. Plans for the Harold and Carmen Polson Legacy Housing Facility began in 2017. The facility will provide free temporary housing for out-of-town patients receiving treatment at the clinic. The $3 million project will feature 12 patient guest rooms with double queen and king rooms to accommodate large and small families. It will also have a self-serve kitchen and a dining area, a laundry room, and places where families can gather, including an outdoor fire pit. Approximately 40% of all of the clinic's patients travel from out of town to receive medical treatment.
It's expensive, and some people will forego treatment altogether because they can't afford the hotel or the gas or the food. And it's also a level of comfort. When you're undergoing cancer treatment, it's always better to be in a comfortable and inviting environment versus a hotel room that you're just not used to.
And the facility is expected to be complete by the summer of 2021. Our last day of September was marked by sunshine. Now we set our sights on October. Here's MTN's Curtis Grevenitz with our first forecast.
Well, good Wednesday evening, everybody. Did you see it as the sun was going down, an orangish sunset? Well, that's wildfire smoke that is headed into the state. Also, as the sun was going down, the almost full harvest moon, that was coming up in the eastern sky. The full moon is actually tomorrow night, October 1st. But there's the smoke spreading across western Montana tonight into the central part of the state. Now, if you didn't notice it this evening, you likely will notice it tomorrow. A little grayish sky, not quite as beautiful and blue as we saw over the last several days, but look where the smoke goes heading into Friday, down off towards the south here. However, there still is large areas of thick concentrated smoke off to our southwest, and that has the potential of coming back into Montana. So just a brief little bout of some smoke, but more days of vitamin D ahead. A lot of sunshine here. Gray skies, smoky skies are going to clear up, so put on a happy face in about 24 hours or so. And the middle of the month, yeah, that's when we may be waiting for precipitation. More on the full forecast later on the show.
It may be out with the old and in with the new at one popular livestock auction, but don't expect many changes in Lewistown. Our Montana Ag Report is next.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. Since the 1950s, Lewistown Livestock Auction in central Montana has been helping livestock producers market their livestock. And as the Montana Ag Network's Russell Nemitz shares, even though the auction market has new owners, its legacy will continue.
As a little boy in the mid-1980s, Kyle Shobe had a dream of becoming an auctioneer and someday owning his own auction market. Well, through hard work, perseverance, and help from his family and friends, that dream of his is now a reality as he and his wife Jody are the new owners of Lewistown Livestock Auction.
I grew up working the sheep sales here. I worked in these very alleys with a sheep shaker with a milk jug and some rocks in it, just moving sheep up into their pens. And you know, I was 4 or 5 years old, and my mom would cart me down. And Dad used to do the radio reports here when Ted Dirksen owned the yards, and I would always come with him and you know, pretend like we were having a sale.
He says, having grown up in central Montana, as the new owner of Lewistown Livestock Auction, it's more than just a business.
This community is such a part of us. It's a remarkable community that supports itself so well. And this business is such a huge facet of the economy here. We're fortunate to have some industry here. We have a lot of the professionals, the medical, the education system, because it's such a hub for some of these smaller communities around central Montana. But this livestock auction means a lot to local producers, and it is it's our privilege to be able to step into ownership and carry on a legacy that's been here since the 1950s.
Kyle and Jody Shobe have purchased Lewistown Livestock Auction from longtime owners Lyle and Jan Allen. And Lyle says they can't think of a better family to carry on the legacy of this important auction market here in central Montana.
We've been thinking about it, and when you've got a good young family man that has grown up here, auctioneer, and this is where Kyle sold his first cattle, was right here like 12 years ago, and then went on to become world champion with us supporting him the whole way, and he's done great. The market will continue to do great, and we feel like it's, you know, a good opportunity for us to turn it over to a great young family.
In Lewistown, Russell Nemitz, MTN News.
Well, folks, rain still does fall in parts of the country. It's just into the Great Lakes and the Northeast, far away from Montana. I'll let you know if we have any raindrops headed our way anytime soon coming up.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenus.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Beautiful weather out there again today. Maybe a little cooler than yesterday by about 20 to 25 degrees, but did not see that many in the way of complaints in the weather inbox, the complaint box that we have here at the station. 49 degrees, the current temperature. It's cool outside in the Helena area, a little warmer. We're into the lower and mid-50s throughout the area, but 41 in Havre. We're likely heading for a freeze here tonight. Temperatures in the upper 20s and the lower 30s by tomorrow morning. Not record cold, but certainly a chill in the air after a little front front that came through last night into this morning. The wind finally easing up here in the eastern part of the state. It's been very, very windy there, but through the overnight hours, most of Montana will calm down here as far as the wind goes. Tomorrow afternoon, a little breeze off of the Rocky Mountain front, but the wind will switch around to the north once again with another minor cold front coming through the state here on Friday, and that will increase the wind and maybe bring an isolated shower in the eastern part of the state. Couple of showers once again further off towards our east into southern Canada and the Dakotas. Fires technically still active here, but if you watched our show last night, I talked about this fire southwest of Three Forks. This one blew up yesterday, last night, and firefighters worked throughout the night on this fire here. It is now out, 100% contained, and grew to over 100 acres very quickly in the weather that we had the other day, that kind of warmth in the wind before a little cool down today. Mentioned some of the showers before we went to the commercial. You could see all that activity. That's the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, so to speak, with more wet weather in the east and more dry weather here out west. High pressure changing location, and that's allowing some of this wildfire smoke to come up into Montana here. The good news is we're going to have one of these little minor fronts go through late Thursday night into Friday morning, and that should deliver more of a northwest to north flow, knocking some of that smoke away. Look at that, maybe a few raindrops in eastern Montana coming up late Friday morning into the afternoon, but later on Friday, most of the state is mostly clear once again, and the pattern continues with wet weather going up and over the top of Montana and a lot of the west until maybe late next week or next weekend, the second weekend in October. I mentioned a chill tonight. Look at some of these numbers, certainly heading down into the 20s and the low 30s, maybe a little frost on the pumpkin, so to speak, for tomorrow, and then heading into Thursday afternoon. A little cooler with some higher level clouds in eastern Montana, but 60s and 70s in central and western areas. And again, a little smoky, a little hazy out there. The air quality still should be good. For Friday, again, an isolated shower eastern Montana. And then we're looking at 60s and 70s with mostly sunny skies a little later on in the day. Saturday, mostly sunny, 60s and 70s. And into Sunday, look at this, temperatures going up into the 70s, a little wind increasing, and that means the fire danger will be on the increase as well. So over the next 7 days, temperatures staying above average. We'll have to watch the fire danger really every day, but especially when the wind increases. Smoky skies tomorrow, cooler and cleaner again on Friday, and then really nice for the first weekend of October.
Thanks, Curtis. Some changes are headed to one Montana American Legion baseball program. We'll tell you what's on deck next.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back. In continued efforts to bolster interest in baseball in Great Falls, the Electric City Baseball Academy and the Great Falls Chargers Legion program will merge into one umbrella organization. Exact details on the structure of the new organization are still being worked out. In recent years, the Chargers have had low numbers go out for the team, but head coach Tony Forster said the merger of the groups will make the process simpler and more streamlined for players and families to stay involved in baseball through high school.
ECBA has done a great job of getting kids out for baseball at young ages, and what they're doing a really good job of as well is keeping them interested. I think what has happened in the past is kids have played until they were about 12 or 13, and then they kind of just lose interest or not exactly sure what they want to do at the next level. So what we're trying to do is just everybody work together so everyone knows what the next step is for each kid, and so the parents have a better idea as well.
Assessments for 14 to 18-year-olds will be held at Don Olson Field this Saturday and next Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. When the fall sports season started back in August, it felt like only a matter of time before COVID-19 altered the schedule. One Great Falls team experienced a quarantine firsthand, but returned to the court this week. The Bison volleyball team shared their perspective with our Tom Wiley.
The Great Falls High volleyball team took the court for a typical weekday practice, but this felt anything but typical. When we came into practice, they were like excited and happy to be there, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm happy you guys are ready to be here.
2 weeks ago, the Bison received word that someone in the program had tested positive for COVID-19, which forced the entire team to quarantine as close contacts.
We have a group chat, and then one of the players was like, I just got a call, like, did anyone else get one? And we were like, no, like, you're joking.
We were all getting texts, like, just one after the other. And like we were all just waiting for the next text who was gonna get called out then.
The Bison had to miss 2 weekends of games and cancel all practices. It was uncertain when and if they would return to the court, but they kept in contact via Zoom.
We talked to them probably 2 to 3 times a week. We talked about our goals, and it was kind of nice to actually just talk about things that weren't volleyball, but weren't like telling them how to get better in the gym. So that was nice. We obviously not something we wanted to do, but
earlier this week they received the all clear to resume practice and games, and they returned to the field house with a new perspective.
We learned that we cannot take anything for granted because our coach is constantly telling us that we're super lucky to even be here in the gym right now because lots of other states, they cancel all their volleyball. So now we know that what can happen, and so we need to make sure that we're staying safe, staying healthy, taking care of each other.
We were back yesterday, we got a good practice in, got all the rust off, and now we're ready to roll.
Tom Wiley, MTN Sports.
The 4 matches the Bison missed while quarantining were all rescheduled, starting with a conference doubleheader this weekend against Belgrade and Bozeman. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All right, it looks good here on the 7-day forecast. The only couple of things we have to watch out for is when the wind will increase Sunday, Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday because of how dry it's been and the fire danger. But otherwise, temperature-wise, sky-wise, looking very nice all the way through the beginning of October.
Well, finally tonight, some foul-mouthed parrots at a British zoo are in big trouble for swearing at people. 5 African gray parrots were donated from separate owners to the Lincolnshire Wildlife Park within the same week. The birds quarantined together, but staff said the parrots were soon swearing and cussing at each other, then also at visitors. They started cussing back. The zoo removed the parrots from public view so children wouldn't hear all the profanity. Staff are hoping the birds' language will get more family-friendly now that they have been separated. All right, well, that's all the time we have. Montana This Morning comes your way at 4:30. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.